Picture this: Staten Island, New York. A lanky kid with dark circles under his eyes dealing with his firefighter dad's death on 9/11 grows up to become the most unlikely Casanova in Hollywood history. Well, that's Pete Davidson, the guy who somehow convinced the world that awkward can be the new sexy. But how did this dude become Hollywood's most unlikely heartthrob? Let's break down every relationship that turned Pete from SNL's resident weirdo into the man who literally inspired the term Big D energy. So, starting at the beginning, before Pete became a dating phenomenon, he was with Cassie David, yes, Larry David's daughter. They dated for 2.5 years from 2016 to 2018. This was pre-fame Pete, just a rising SNL comedian dating comedy royalty's daughter. She even helped him through his mental health struggles. Their breakup in May 2018 would set off the most insane dating streak in modern celebrity history. Pete was doing his thing, making dark jokes about his dad dying on 9/11, standard Pete stuff. Then boom, Ariana Grande enters the chat. Now, this wasn't just dating, this was cultural chaos. They met when Ariana hosted SNL in March, and by June they were engaged. But it was weird to say the least. Ariana had just split from Mac Miller in May after 2 years together. She goes from a long-term relationship with a rapper to engaged to a comedian in 3 weeks? The internet lost its collective mind. The speed was insane. They fell too fast, too hard. 0 to 100 in seconds. And the world couldn't process it. But suddenly, everyone knew who Pete Davidson was. He went from being that weird guy on SNL to Ariana Grande's fiancé overnight. The memes were everywhere. People couldn't understand it. Here's this regular-looking dude with tattoos and Crohn's disease dating one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But that was exactly the point. Pete had something that couldn't be bought or faked. He had that BDE, and Ariana herself confirmed it when she basically told the world about his impressive attributes. Their relationship was like watching a real-time social media explosion. Pete got tattoos of Ariana, multiple tattoos, including one that said Millie Tendresse behind his ear and her initials on his thumb. They adopted a pet pig together, named Piggy Smalls. This was peak 2018 chaos. But here's the thing about dating at that level of fame. It burns bright and it burns fast. By October, they were done. Ariana wrote Thank You Next, which became one of the biggest songs of her career. And Pete became immortalized in pop culture forever. That breakup song launched him into the stratosphere. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know what was so special about this guy that Ariana Grande wrote a whole song about him. Fast forward to 2019, Pete's riding high on his post-Ariana fame, and then he shows up with Kate Beckansale. Kate Beckansale, the woman who was in Underworld, the woman who's 20 years older than him. The internet basically exploded again. They were spotted making out at a hockey game, and the photos went viral instantly. Here's Pete, this 25-year-old comedian with his tongue down the throat of a 45-year-old Hollywood goddess at a Rangers game. The age gap became the story. Everyone had opinions, but Pete, he just leaned into it. He made jokes about it on SNL, he owned it completely. The relationship didn't last long, but it solidified something important. Pete wasn't just Ariana's ex anymore, he was becoming his own brand of celebrity. The guy who could date anyone, regardless of age, status, or conventional Hollywood logic. Then came Margaret Qualley. This one was different. Quieter. They were spotted together at the Venice Film Festival, looking all artsy and sophisticated. Back then, Margaret was just the daughter of Andie MacDowell, and she was just breaking out as an actress. This relationship felt more grown up. Pete was working on The King of Staten Island at the time, his semi-autobiographical movie with Judd Apatow. He was actually focusing on his craft for once. But the quiet didn't last long, because then came Kaya Gerber, Cindy Crawford's daughter, and this is where things got a bit messy. Kaya was 18 when they started dating. Pete was 26. The age difference became a thing again, but this time it felt different, less playful, more concerning. They were photographed everywhere. Kaya's parents were reportedly worried. Pete was going through some stuff. You could see it in the photos. He looked tired, worn down. This relationship marked a turning point. Shortly after they broke up, Pete checked himself into rehab. He was open about his struggles with mental health and substance abuse. For the first time, the Pete Davidson dating narrative shifted from "how does he do it" to "is he okay?" But Pete bounces back, he always does. Post-rehab, he emerged healthier, more focused, and then he met Phoebe Dinover. Phoebe was fresh off her breakout role in Bridgerton, Netflix period drama that had everyone obsessed with Regency-era romance. She was British, classy, and somehow they made sense together. They were doing the long-distance thing between New York and London. Pete was wearing suits to events. He looked good, like actually good. This was Pete's glow-up era. The king of Staten Island had gotten great reviews. He was sober, healthy, and dating someone age-appropriate who wasn't part of the usual Hollywood circus. People started taking him seriously as an actor and a person, not just a punchline. But then, Kim Kardashian happened. October 2021, Kim hosts SNL. There's a sketch where they kiss. It's supposed to be just comedy, but something sparked. By November, they were spotted holding hands at Knott's Berry Farm. The internet basically broke. Kim Kardashian, reality TV royalty, billionaire businesswoman, recently divorced from Kanye West, and Pete Davidson, the guy from Staten Island. It was the most unlikely pairing in celebrity history. And yet, it worked. Maybe it was because of the BDE, and just like he did with Ariana Grande before, Pete got tattoos for Kim, because of course he did. He branded Kim on his chest, he got "My girl is a lawyer" tattooed, he met her kids, he went to the Met Gala. Yes, this was a ticket to the queens and kings of Hollywood. The relationship thrust Pete into a whole new level of fame. He was on the Kardashians' Hulu show. He was fighting with Kanye West via text message. He left SNL after 8 seasons. By this point, it wasn't accurate to call Pete a comedian anymore. He was a celebrity now, a real one. When they broke up after 9 months, it felt like the end of an era. But Pete doesn't do endings, he does new beginnings. Enter Emily Radikowski. Supermodel, author, feminist icon who wrote a whole book about body autonomy, fresh off her own divorce from Sebastian Bear McLeod. November 2022, and suddenly Pete's back in the game. They were spotted at a Knicks game, because where else does Pete take his dates? Then came the apartment visits, the birthday celebrations. How does he keep doing this? Emily was different though. She was coming out of her own high-profile split, navigating single motherhood. Their thing was brief, maybe a month or two, but it reignited the whole Pete Davidson mystique. Here's this intellectual supermodel who can have anyone, and she's chosen the guy from Staten Island. At this point, it wasn't even surprising. It was just Pete being Pete. The man had become a genre unto himself. Then Chase Sue Wonders. Finally, a relationship that made sense on paper. They met filming Bodies, 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 that Gen Z horror comedy where they played love interests. Chemistry on screen turned into chemistry off screen. This felt different, more stable, less tabloid chaos, more actual relationship. They were spotted all over New York just being a normal couple, getting coffee, walking dogs. It lasted almost a year, which in Pete Davidson time is basically a lifetime. During this period, Pete was evolving professionally too. He was working on Bupkis, his semi-autobiographical show for Peacock. He was writing, producing, taking control of his narrative. The relationship with Chase felt like part of this new, more mature Pete. But all good things must end, and by August 2023, they were done. After Chase came Madeline Klein from Outer Banks, another brief romance, but it kept the Pete Davidson dating mythology alive. At this point, he had become a genre unto himself. Getting Pete Davidson was a thing people said. Like if a super successful woman started dating a regular-looking funny guy, people would say she got Pete Davidson. His dating life wasn't just gossip anymore, it was its own entertainment category, its own cultural phenomenon. There was even a rumor about Ice Spice after they did an SNL promo together. The internet ran with it because of course they did, but it was fake, just memes and jokes. TMZ had to actually debunk it. That's how powerful the Pete Davidson dating narrative had become. People would believe he could date literally anyone. And now, he's with Elsie Hewitt, British-born model and actress who's been in Playboy, done campaigns for Guess. She's got this whole other thing going though, a food Instagram called @ElsieEats, where she posts cooking videos and restaurant reviews. They were first spotted in December 2023, right after the Madeline thing ended. But this one's different. No, really. They're showing up at actual couple things, basketball games at Madison Square Garden, friends' weddings in Scotland. They attended Dave Navarro's wedding together, looking all coupley and official. She's been to Staten Island to meet his mom, and that's basically Pete Davidson's version of getting engaged. There's talk of this being more serious, more long-term, like Pete Davidson might actually settle down. So there you have it, from Cassie David to Elsie Hewitt. From comedy clubs to the Met Gala, Pete Davidson, the guy who looks like he hasn't slept since 2015, somehow dated half of Hollywood's A-list. Because that's what happened when you've got BDE and a Peacock deal. Staten Island's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Hide your girlfriends.